Hey, it's me, Vicky Marie. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we're living in. And we're back to the mushroom murder trial. For more, we're going to hear a lot more about mushrooms again today. The day 11 was all about the mushrooms. Gosh, I think I'm, become an expert in mushrooms without wanting to be. And the testimony that's being heard at the moment, I'm not really sure why there's so much testimony about the mushrooms. I thought it was more or less established that these people died of death cap mushroom poisoning. I don't understand really what the defence are trying to achieve with this. Anyway, doesn't matter what I think, does it? This is what's happening in the trial. But I'm just warning you now, you're going to get a lot more information about mushrooms, probably more than you ever wanted to know. So, first of all, so here we are, the mushroom murder trial. Just a very, very quick reminder. I think nearly everybody by now knows what this trial is all about. But just in case anyone's joining this case for the first time, these are the mushrooms, the culprits, allegedly, death cap mushrooms that allegedly this woman, Erin Patterson, deliberately put in a beef Wellington or individual beef Wellingtons that she served to the relatives of her ex-husband, Simon Patterson, who was also invited to this lunch, this fateful lunch. He was invited, he decided not to go, but the lunch went ahead and these 4 people became severely ill. These are all relatives of Simon. So it's important to know they're not relatives of Erin. Yeah. Erin is the estranged wife of Simon Patterson. And these were all his relatives that were invited to this lunch and was served individual beef Wellingtons on a different colour plate to the hostess. And here we have Don on the left-hand side, who is Simon's father. We have Gail, his wife, who is Simon's mother. And then we have her sister, Heather, who, of course, then would be Simon's aunt. And her husband, Ian, he survived, Ian Wilkinson. He survived, but he was very, very poorly. But he did survive, and he seems okay, like in physical health now. He's okay. But the other 3 people, not only they died, which is bad enough, but they died very painful, long, lingering deaths. The result of the toxicity, allegedly, of these death cap mushrooms, which don't kill you overnight, can take weeks to kill you because they attack they take a long time for you to even get any symptoms. So these poor people apparently ingested these mushrooms at the lunch at around about 1 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon, and their symptoms did not manifest until midnight, 11 midnight that night. So a horrible lingering, and then it took days for them to die, and they were put in comas. They experienced, your vital organs start to fail. Anyway, so it wasn't very nice, let's say. It's obviously not nice to die at all, but very painful, lingering death. Allegedly, deliberately caused by this woman, Erin Patterson. And this is the crux of this trial. Did she mean to put in these death cap mushrooms into the beef Wellingtons? She said she bought the mushrooms in an Asian supermarket, but she can't remember. We've heard testimony that says she can't remember which Asian supermarket she bought it from. She doesn't still have the packet. There's been no other poisonings from death cap mushrooms in the area. She can't even remember which suburb the Asian supermarket was where she allegedly bought these mushrooms. So, yeah, did she do it? Did she do it? Did she do it on purpose? Did she mean to kill them? Or did she put them in meaning to just make the meal? Or was it a complete accident? She says, so far, what we've heard is she says she did not forage these mushrooms. She bought some of the mushrooms she put in the dish in this mystery Asian supermarket, even though it was proven yesterday that actually these mushrooms, they don't even grow anywhere in Asia. So how did the poisonous mushrooms get in this packet of dried mushrooms that she allegedly bought in an Asian supermarket? She's saying she didn't forage them. So far, she's saying that during the trial. So we've had this mushroom expert, Funky Tom, and I'm not calling him that to be facetious. That is his nickname on iNaturalist, where he posts information about mushrooms. He's an expert on mushrooms. His name is Tom. He's a very eminent scientist, but for some reason he chose the nickname of Funky Tom to go on iNaturalist. Interesting. So anyway, before we get going then on day 11, so we're on day 11, the playlist for this trial is in the description box if you want to catch up right from the beginning, all the different evidence we've heard. We've heard all sorts of things, and there's still a long way to go, though they did say that they were going to try and shorten the trial. We're in the 3rd week now. And there could be another 3 weeks to go yet. So what else is going to come out? Anyway, we don't know. But today focuses on more evidence about the mushrooms or explanations about the mushrooms. And also talk about how, because what made also the police be suspicious of Erin Patterson is that she'd been experimenting with a dehydrator. And she had self-confessedly, because she'd said it publicly on Facebook to her Facebook friends, she had been experimenting with a dehydrator, dehydrating mushrooms and putting them in everything, she said. And putting dried mushrooms, dried powdered mushrooms in everything. She'd even put them in her children's chocolate brownies. And you've got to ask yourself, why? Why was she doing that? And that is from her own mouth, if you like, or on her own Facebook account. She was interested in true crime. She was described as a super sleuth by her Facebook friends. She has 2 young children who have given testimony as well, but they can't be named, of course. You know, it's like her husband or ex-husband has already given testimony. And, you know, this is where we are. At this point in the trial, it's a lot of focus on the mushrooms themselves. So, first of all, I think I turned my banner off before I'd actually said thank you to people. Thank you for watching, for liking, for subscribing. Thank you to all my members live tomorrow night, don't forget, Thursday evening. Thank you to everyone who sent me a super sticker, bought me a Ko-fi, PayPal me, sent me a nice email, left a nice message. Thank you for supporting my channel in whichever way you do it. Okay, so Now, hello lurkers. So they're now saying hi to lurkers who don't like to join in the chat. Hi to the replay crew. Thank you for watching. And now I'm going to say hello to you, those of you brave enough to venture into the chat. Oh, hi Yvonne. Hi Maria. Hi David. Hi sheep farming. Thank you. Hi Bluebell. Hi Admit. Lots of hellos going on. Hi Yvonne. I might have already said. And now I start to forget who I've said hello to and who I haven't. So, with no more ado, let's have a look. So, what do you all think? You know, and as always, please put your comments. What you think. Do you think Erin's guilty? Do you think it's not really been proven yet? Do you think this case, is she going to change her plea? Because she's pleading not guilty. Or is it likely that sooner or later she's going to change her plea and say it was accidental, you know, that she did not buy them from an Asian supermarket? And it all depends, of course, what the jury think at the end of the day. It's the jury that will make the decision. Now, she started off badly, or I think the trial started off very badly for Erin, because it seems that at this lunch, Erin disclosed that she had been diagnosed with cancer. And it turned out she had not been diagnosed with cancer. And then the defence tried to say to the sort of surviving witness that she didn't say she was diagnosed with cancer. She just said she had suspected cancer. The surviving witness, Ian Wilkinson, said no, she definitely said she had cancer. We all prayed for her. I mean, that's just awful, isn't it, to think of? If she did that deliberately, not only she sat there and watched them all eat these beef Wellingtons that she knew were laced with poison mushrooms, she then let them all sit there and pray for her. And, you know, but of course, the lies about the cancer, that will not have endeared the jury towards Erin, will it? So we'll see. We'll see what transpires. Still a long way to go in this trial, isn't there? So let's have a look at what happened on day 11. So it's only just finished for the day. So, of course, this is, sorry, I should have said, just in case anyone didn't know, this is in Australia. So as we go through the trial from the day before, if you like, so in Australia, the trial's just finished, and now we're coming into the sort of evening in Australia, early evening, as we're going through what happened. So they're just going to give a little summary. We're going to hear more from the mycologist, and this is Funky Tom. Mycologist Tom May was called into the witness box on Tuesday, and he gave the court a detailed overview of the toxic death cap mushrooms. Oh my God, we know so much about these mushrooms now. We could be on Mastermind talking about them, couldn't we? You know, it's like we've learned so much. I just want to show you the mushrooms. These are the culprits, aren't they? You know, they look like, you think if you saw that, I mean, I wouldn't eat any mushrooms, any foraged mushrooms. If somebody gave me foraged mushrooms without telling me, you know, just saying they were making something and there were mushrooms in them, I would be livid. That would be like poisoning me. I would not eat anything that was foraged. I'll buy it in the supermarket, thank you. Don't want to take it. I don't see why people do it. It's totally unnecessary to do. You know, it's just like a sort of a fashion, if you like, to go out foraging. Why would you want to eat? We've seen that these can be infested with insects. they can have been eaten, nibbled at by animals, not only these, but any mushrooms out in the wild or any food. So why on earth would you actually want to eat it when you can buy perfectly good food in your local, in Tesco or Asda or Mercadona or wherever you are? I just don't get it. So I'll just say that before I start. So now, he gave us a detailed overview of the toxic death cap mushrooms. And don't forget, this guy's an expert. And even he said it's so difficult to tell. Just don't take a chance. Just don't eat wild mushrooms because you cannot be 100% certain. He also revealed he was the user who posted the location of death cap mushrooms in Gippsland to a website in 2023, just months before the deadly lunge. So I think they're sort of building up to the prosecution, building up to the thought, that Erin Patterson saw these mushrooms where they were, and she went off there and got some. So to follow along with the opening day of, so they're saying that their opening day of his testimony, you can read their blog from yesterday, or you can watch my video from yesterday. Let me just go up a bit. Welcome to today's coverage of the trial. Oh, come on, I had this all set up. Where's it gone? So, yeah, here we are. So defence lawyer Sophie Stafford resumed her cross-examination of mycologist Tom May. And when we adjourned yesterday afternoon, Miss Stafford was taking Dr. May through images of different mushrooms. Oh, we saw a lot. We're going to see a lot more mushrooms today, I'll just tell you. She raises an article written previously by Dr. May that explains the limitations in identifying mushrooms based off just a photo, and he confirms that this is the case. And the composite image that Dr. May is shown by Miss Stafford contains 10 pictures of mushrooms in varying colours. Some are big, some are small, some are in the wild, and some appear to be on a bench. And Dr. May said he was able to identify 2 of them as being death caps. And Miss Stafford raises previous statements by Dr. May, where he said the general public had a poor ability to identify mushrooms, which he confirms. Yeah. I think they look at the mushrooms I was trying to think of yesterday that I actually quite like, but as I say, I would buy them in the supermarket. They remind me of those oyster mushrooms that you can get in the supermarket. The sort of like big, quite flat ones. I quite like. Before this case, I like all kinds of mushrooms, but now I'm not so sure. We've all gone off them, haven't we? Hi, Daniel. Yeah, not only mushrooms, but beef Wellington, definitely all gone downhill, hasn't it? In popularity stakes. So then the court hears a recap of death caps, and Miss Stafford runs down the list of characteristics of death cap mushrooms once again for the court. I mean, how many of these people went home and had anything with mushrooms? So these are the characteristics: whitish yellow, pale brown, or green cap. I mean, that's 4 different possible colours. White gills, white spore prints, a cup present at the base of the stipe, which is the stem, an annulus, a ring present on the stem, and it occurs under a member of the oak tree family. So, any oak trees where you live, stay well away from them if you're looking for mushrooms. And Dr. May said in identifying death caps, he would be looking for all of these characteristics to be present. So now we're going to hear how Dr. May determines mushroom identity. Sorry. I just had this sort of wicked thought then. I'm thinking, that I identify as a death cap mushroom. It's like mushroom. No, I identify as a straw mushroom. No, I identify as a butter mushroom. I mean, oh gosh, it's just, you couldn't. The reason why this case has attracted so much attention internationally is it literally, you feel like you couldn't make it up, don't you? Anyway, Dr. May tells the court he errs on the side of caution when identifying mushrooms and qualifies his identifications with terms like high degree of probability and consistency when it comes to official matters such as police requests. And he says in more casual settings, he will simply say what a mushroom is without qualification. Ms. Stafford presses him on what Dr. May would do if a photograph was taken without showing certain features like gills. Then you would be in a position to say, well, I cannot rule out death cap, she asks. Yes, that is the language I would use, he says. Then the defence returns to this gallery of mushrooms, and Miss Stafford produces a series of photographs of mushrooms seen growing in Victoria, including Gippsland. She noted this would feature as an exercise yesterday, and she says there are 7 photos to go through. All the photos are taken from iNaturalist, the citizen science website used for logging flora and fungi. And the defence says the first photo is of a stubble rosegill mushroom. I mean, who knew there were so many different mushrooms? Which Dr. May says he cannot confirm. So here is the first photo from iNaturalist that the defence has shown, which purportedly shows a stubble rosegill mushroom. So you can see it is quite similar, isn't it, to the death cap mushroom, except it seems to have a dark stem. Don't know, that's how it's. I don't know what the point of all this is, to be honest. I literally do not know what the point of it is, but what are the defence trying to establish here? I mean, I don't think the defence has really got much of a defence. What are they actually trying to say here? I just don't know at all. Anyway, never mind. Who am I to judge? Are they just waffling? Maybe the defence are doing their little bit of waffling here, just trying to distract the jury. I don't know. What is the point of all this? Don't understand at all. So, stubble rosegill. And Dr. May notes that this page is tagged with needs ID at the top, meaning that this image by itself is not enough to accurately identify the species of mushroom. Now, I'm not an expert, but if I looked at that, I would say that is not a death cap mushroom because it's got a black stem. How is that like? No, I think actually that is like clearly not. Waffle, David. That is clearly not the same as that, is it? Like the top bit looks a little bit the same, but is it, or is that just the shadow? But it looks to me it's got brown stem, whereas this is clearly white. And this is a death cap mushroom. But again, I don't see the whole point of it in the first place. So, he notes the physical similarities between the stubble rosegill and the death cap mushroom. Now these, if this is that doesn't even look like that, does it? But if that is the stubble rosegill when it's younger, if you like, that looks nothing like the death cap mushroom. That's got more of a sort of butter mushroom type top, hasn't it? Anyway, a second image is shown to Dr. May. He says he's not confident that the image is in fact a stubble rosegill and he would need further analysis. Why are they putting him on trial? Like trying to get, they're trying to quiz him about his knowledge of mushrooms. He said, basically, I think the message from this is don't even bother foraging mushrooms because you can't be confident enough that they're not poisonous. And what you're going to do, like I was saying yesterday, what you're going to do, eat it, and then, as you die and say, yes, it was a deaf cat mushroom, not a stubble rosegill after all. What's the point? Anyway, Miss Stafford asks if this mushroom grows in Victoria and in particular Gippsland. And Dr. May says he's not certain, but he would expect the mushroom to be widespread. Then more images are shown. So listen, you will never have known there were this many types of mushrooms. The defence continues its exercise of showing mushrooms to Dr. May, showing an image of an Udamanziella gigaspora mushroom. Again, he's asked to identify the mushroom. This is ridiculous. Why? Why? It's not, a quiz. Now, that looks nothing like a deaf cat mushroom, does it, that we've seen? Dr. May says he's made more than 30,000 identifications on iNaturalist, and he says he almost never offers an opinion if he cannot see the underside of the mushroom. He explains the red dots on the map in the image, showing the alleged location of each mushroom. So the thing is, on this iNaturalist, I think what does matter is each of these red dots is where different mushrooms have been found. So if you were looking, is the defence who's presenting this? To me, it proves the prosecution's point. If you were looking for a place to find a deaf cat mushroom, you'd go on this thing. Are the prosecution going to end up coming and saying this was seen on searches, that Erin had made? Surely on Erin's devices, they would know if she tried to access this website or this app or whatever it is. So yeah, if you did want to find deaf cat mushrooms, you could go on here and it would tell you exactly where they were, I suppose. Here's another one. Oh no, that's that same one. Yeah, you can see that one looks like that one. Looks nothing like the deaf cat mushroom, which seems to be white. The defence once again states that the purported locations are all in Gippsland, which Dr. May confirms. So the defence's mushroom exercise continues. Another picture of a mushroom is shown, and the defence once again draws parallels between its physical appearance and a deaf cat mushroom. And Miss Stafford calls attention to the brown cap and the white gills. Now, I have to keep going back and looking at the picture that I don't think that looks like that, really, does it? Maybe a little bit. But I think the one that there is browner. Anyway, I just don't understand what the point is they're trying to make. And Miss Stafford asks if these mushrooms are toxic or not. And he says, I'm not aware of any cases of human ingestion associated with symptoms. Then the exercise continues with the genus Armiaria or honey mushroom. So here's another type of mushroom that you've probably never heard of. Looks nothing like the deaf cat mushroom, does it? These look more like petals, don't they? They're flatter, and so, yeah. The defence's line of questioning continues for 15 minutes, as it has for 15 minutes, pointing out the physical similarities between this mushroom and deaf cat mushrooms. And he confirms that this mushroom would also grow in Gippsland. I don't think that's anything like, is it? Nothing like the death cap mushroom. Let's go back to it again. How is that mushroom like that one? Nothing like it. Couldn't be more different, could it? Honestly, do not understand what this defense is trying to say at all. Just don't understand at all. So, and Dr. May says that the Victorian variant of these mushrooms is very bitter and unlikely to be eaten. So more than 30 minutes of mushroom analysis. Oh my God, I bet they're all losing the will to live. So it's now been more than half an hour of the defence presenting mushrooms that grow in Victoria and asking Dr. May about them. The questioning follows a similar pattern, asking Dr. May if they grow in Gippsland, if they share similar features to a death cap, and whether they are toxic or not. Oh, here's another one. The defence presents purported images of the shaggy parasol. So here's another mushroom we didn't know about. We don't want to know about. The shaggy parasol mushroom. And now Dr. May says the shaggy parasol mushroom, it must be related to the button mushroom, is toxic. And he says this is one of the mushrooms that through the work of the Victorian Poisons Information Centre, we are aware is toxic to humans. He says. Now we've got another one. The buttery colibia mushroom. Another one we've never heard of and we don't want to ever hear of. The buttery colibia mushroom. This is then shown to Dr. May, which he says does not grow in Victoria, despite alleged observations on iNaturalist. The questioning continues. Then a discussion begins over the buttery colibia mushroom, which Dr. May mentioned is highly unlikely to grow in Victoria. Miss Stafford, as she has about a dozen times this morning, asked that if it were to grow in Victoria, what similarities would it have to a death cap mushroom? Now, this is a totally pointless question. So he's just said it doesn't grow in Victoria. So the defence witness is saying, if it were to grow in Victoria, do you think the defence are just trying to bore the jury shitless so they stop listening and they stop, even caring about what mushroom it is? It's like, what is the point of this defence? So he says there's a few hypotheticals in there that I'm struggling to disentangle. So he appears very reluctant to say the mushroom could be found in Victoria, but concedes it could theoretically be found in Victoria. I mean, he doesn't know. He's not been through the whole of fucking Victoria and scoured it to see if there's a bloody buttery colibia. That might be one somewhere. It's just weird. If I was Erin now, I'd be thinking, I need a new defence lawyer. So the similarities to death cap and non-toxicity of the buttery colibia are pointed out, and we move on to yet another mushroom. So I think reading between the lines, the reporter who's reporting on this, he's thinking exactly what we're thinking. What the hell is going on? What is the point? Oh, then the court breaks. Oh my God, you'd need a lie down in a dark room after all that. So after another debate about mushrooms, following an identical line of questioning, our 45-minute journey into the world of mycology is paused as Justice Beale calls for a break. Justice Beale's thinking, oh my God, get me a gin and tonic. Anyway, so they come back from break and the jury is led back into the courtroom as we return from the break. And Dr. Tom May is still in the witness box And Sophie Stafford continues her questioning. Oh my God, not again. Oh, thank God. She says she's finished her exercise with mushrooms. Thank F for that, Sophie. She then asked Dr. May if there are a range of edible mushrooms that share physical similarities like colour with death cap mushrooms, and he says this is correct. And she says, are you aware of any mushrooms in the Amanita genus growing in Australia that are non-toxic? And he says, in terms of native species of Amanita, I don't believe we have information that confirms they're edible. Dr. May says, possible but don't know, she presses, just don't know. Do you know what? I think Sophie Stafford deserves an award for, the most pointless line of questioning ever in a murder trial. What an absolute, I just don't get it, just, is she wasting time? Is Colin Mandy, who's the main prosecutor, maybe he hasn't arrived yet? Do you think she's just wasting time because he slept in or whatever? Maybe he was out last night. He slept in. He's going to be there late, so Sophie's just wasting time until he gets there. Does feel like that. Hi, Claire. Hi, Deborah. Yvonne, no, we haven't got to the dehydrator. We're going to do that in a minute. Hi, Joanne. They had to go through all these bloody mushrooms first. So then the defence cites other poisoning incidences, and Sophie raises an incident from May 2023 of a Chinese tourist reportedly eating a death cap mushroom and falling ill. So after eating a mushroom found near an oak tree, they experienced organ failure and were hospitalised, but recovered a week later. Now, do you know what? I mean, anybody who just picks a mushroom and eats it, so I take it they didn't even take it home and cook it. Not that it would have made any difference. It still would have made them ill. But, they need they need a sort of a mental health checkup, in my opinion. Why would you do that? So first of all, you're in a foreign country. So this is a Chinese tourist. So they don't even know anything, about the mushrooms that in that country. They know nothing about the wildlife. It's not even their own country where they might have know a little bit about what's going on. Oh, there's a mushroom. Oh, let's eat it and see what happens. So they should charge them for their healthcare for that, because it was their own fault, in my opinion. Then there was a separate death cap poisoning incident in April 2024 raised by the defence, and Dr. May says he's aware of the case as it was made public by the coroner. And Sophie Stafford says the coroner's report states this is a person who died. The deceased person had picked a mushroom in their front yard and then later used them in a dish consumed by herself and her son. I mean, these are just if I saw a mushroom growing on my patio or, anywhere as I was walking, I thought, oh, there's a mushroom. Never seen a mushroom. There's no way that I'm going to pick it and eat it. Might take I'll tell you what, if I ever see a mushroom growing wild, I will take a picture of it and show you guys. So, yeah, again, of course, all sympathies to the family for losing this person, but you've got to think there are some things you just should not do. You find a mushroom in your garden that's just suddenly appeared, don't cook it and eat it. So apparently the Department of Health contacted him after this death cap poisoning, So the defence guided Dr. May through the coronial report on the April 2024 case, stating the facts of the case and making him confirm after each fact. That is what is written here, he says repeatedly, but he says he cannot confirm any facts outside of the report. So apparently the report made several recommendations, and Dr. May says he was contacted by the Department of Health about responding to those recommendations. One of the recommendations was an increase in public health advice around mushroom foraging. So now we're coming to death cap mushroom season in Victoria. The court hears about the spread and growth of death cap mushrooms across Victoria, and Dr. May confirms that although more common in April and May, they can occur at other times depending on rainfall. Then follows a long period of questioning over another mushroom photo. Oh my God! What is this defence's ploy? You know, what is their mission? I literally don't understand at all. So the defence presents a photo of dried yellowish mushrooms on a scale, which was also shown yesterday. I think she's waiting for this Colin Mandy to turn up. He hasn't turned up yet. She's just wasting time. After some long, convoluted questioning, Miss Stafford has Dr. May confirm that, based on the photograph, he cannot rule out the possibility that the mushrooms are death cap mushrooms, nor can he rule out they are a different species. And he says the physical characteristics match up with death cap mushrooms. The defence concludes their questioning, thank God for that, and the prosecution gets back up. So then Nanette Rogers, thank goodness, is brief with her questioning. Much of today and yesterday's discussion is centred around how death cap mushrooms look, but Dr. Rogers introduces a new sense, smell. And she says, what can you say about the smell of death cap mushrooms as they age or dry? She asks. And he replies, when they're first collected, there's no particular smell. He says, I have dried death cap mushrooms on a number of occasions. Why? Why has he done that? And I found their smell to be very unpleasant. That's interesting. So after this, because generally mushrooms don't smell, do they? They don't smell of anything. You know, I would never think, oh, that smells like mushrooms. And I've got mushrooms in my fridge at the moment. I've always, really nearly always, got mushrooms in my fridge. I don't ever remember noticing the smell of them. After this statement, the prosecution finishes their examination, and we bid farewell to Dr. Tom May. Funky Tom, adios Tom, good luck with your mushrooms. Now, he's given a lot of very important, I don't know if it's important, not for his fault. I think he's given the important evidence right at the beginning, and then for whatever reason, the defence has just sort of, made it go on and on and on. But that's it from him now. I bet he breathed a sigh of relief. I bet he just can't get back to writing about mushrooms and not having to answer all these questions. Now we've got another mushroom expert, the Royal Botanic Gardens mycologist, a colleague of Tom May. So this is Dr. Camille Truong, a research scientist at the Royal Botanic Gardens who specialises in mycology. And she explains that the Victorian Poison Information Centre has an agreement with the Royal Botanic Gardens to offer support. So we've got another mushroom expert, just a different one now. I hope that bloody Sophie's not going to ask all the same questions. Hi, Sosa. Yeah, sorry, I was just having a little read of the chat there. So she says most cases are times when the toxicologist call her about fungi, and it's extremely rare for them to see physical specimens for analysis. Now, this is interesting because on July the 31st, 2023, Dr. Truong was the on-call mycologist, and she received a call from Dr. Muldoon at the Monash Health. And Dr. Truong says she was informed about a possible poisoning case involving 4 people, and she was asked to help identify mushrooms. And she tells the court that after being sent photographs of the leftovers, she was unable to identify the mushrooms. Now that's interesting, isn't it? So she did not identify the mushrooms as death cap mushrooms. But what were these leftovers? I mean, I don't think there were any leftovers from the 4 victims' beef Wellingtons, were they? Because they had individual plates. Didn't they all eat their, well, one, was it Gail who only ate half of her plate, but then her husband Don finished off the other half. So when they say leftovers, they're not talking about the leftovers from the victims, are they? So anyway, she apparently told the doctors that death cap poisoning would be impossible. A photo is shown to the court, which is the same photo emailed to Dr. Truong on July the 31st. It shows a picture of the beef Wellington pastry and some of the finely chopped brown filling. And I told her, based on this particular photograph, I would not be able to give her identification. She said they'd been bought from a supermarket, a Chinese shop, I believe. And she said she told Dr. Muldoon it was probably impossible to be death cap mushrooms because they only grew. That's why she said it was impossible if they were bought in a supermarket, due to them only growing in the wild and being unable to be cultivated. Also, apparently you can't cultivate them. I also told her there were absolutely no sightings of death cap mushrooms during the last months. She said, based on the information I received, it was highly unlikely to be a case of death cap mushroom poisoning. Yeah, now bear in mind, she's only looked at a photo and then she's saying, you know, it was impossible for them to be bought from a supermarket. So at 5 p.m. that afternoon, she said she received a message informing her a package had been dropped off for her at the Royal Botanic Gardens. The package contained large resealable bags with food inside, and Dr. Truong organised for the leftovers to be brought to her house. And she analysed the mushroom in the leftovers under a microscope. Ironic, is it? So I suppose, you know, if that's what you do, then you would have a microscope at home, wouldn't you? So Dr. Rogers asked, did you find any death cap mushroom pieces? And she said, I didn't. She then re-examined it the next day at the Royal Botanic Gardens, again using a microscope. Did you find any signs of death cap mushrooms? No, I didn't. She tells the court the only mushrooms she found were field mushrooms that are commonly found at supermarkets. So what about, right, okay. So then he's here now. Colin Mandy, yeah, I bet he just wasn't there. And that other defence woman, Sophie, she was just like prevaricating, talking about all those mushrooms until he got there. The defence's Colin Mandy is up to question Dr. Truong now. Hi, sheep farmer. Sorry. I'm not on my. Let me just. Hello, everyone. Sorry, just to remind you, I am still here. He asks about a conversation she had with Mark Douglas following her first examination of the leftovers. She tells the court she was contacted by many people in the days after the lunch, including the police and the Department of Health, asking her opinion. And Mr. Mandy recounts a conversation she had with a doctor where Dr. Truong said there was a possibility. Oh, here's another 2 types of mushrooms, ghost or oyster mushrooms being in the leftovers. However, Dr. Truong denies she told the doctors that there were definitely samples of ghost or oyster mushrooms in the leftovers. So she's saying no, she didn't say that. So Mr. Mandy reiterates that the supply chains of supermarkets were regulated and that due to their total use of cultivated mushrooms, poisoning was highly unlikely. I mean, who's it? What? So is he trying to say it can't have come from a supermarket? You know, whose side is he on? Or is he trying to say there was no death cat mushroom? That's not what the hospital were wrong, and that the victims did not die of death cat mushroom poisoning. I mean, what is he trying to say? Anyway, Dr. Truong says it's also highly unlikely for poisonings to occur, even with mushrooms sold in small independent shops. The information that was available to you, Mr. Mandias, there wasn't a record of people becoming ill because of mushrooms sold in shops. Correct? Dr. Truong says. So then the defence and prosecution wrap up with Dr. Truong. I don't even know what the point of that, what was that testimony supposed to prove? One way or another, I just don't understand. Do you? Somebody illuminate me if you know, because I don't. Okay, so he then, where are we now? We're back to the phone call Dr. Truong had with the doctor following her examination. Mr. Mandy asks about a conversation that took place between Dr. Truong and doctors on August the 1st, but she disputes this and says she does not remember the day. And Mr. Mandy says notes obtained from the doctor during the call stated the possibility, they're going back to that, of ghost or oyster mushrooms in the dish. Dr. Truong disputes this and says they were simply discussing mushrooms that could theoretically be in a dish. So the defence has no further questions, and the prosecution also finishes and they break for lunch. Then they come back from the break and they return for the afternoon session in courtroom 4. And the next witness is Darren Canty. And now we're coming to the bit where they talk about her dumping hi Heather. Now, hi BF. Now we come to the bit where they talk about her dumping the dehydrator. Now, I think this is really important, isn't it? Because why did she dump the dehydrator? I mean, you could say, maybe she was scared. But if you had nothing to hide, you'd be like going to the police with the dehydrator saying, this is the dehydrator. that I made I dried the mushrooms in. There might be some trace of those mushrooms that I bought from the Asian supermarket. You would take that dehydrator to the police if you had nothing to hide, wouldn't you? So to me, it does seem strange that she actually dumped it. But anyway, you let me know what you think. So the prosecution calls its next witness Darren Canty. He's the manager of the tip where the dehydrator was dumped. So he's the operations manager for Waste Management Specialist DASMA Group. And the DASMA Group operates the Koonwarra transfer station and landfill where a dehydrator was found. Now, the police must have followed Erin there, mustn't they? Or, with it digitally, or how did they know to go there? Or maybe it's just the nearest place and they fell lucky. Anyway, the DASMA Group operates the Koonwarra transfer station and landfill where a dehydrator was found. He tells the court he was contacted by police regarding the tip and he made a copy of CCTV footage which showed a woman arriving in a red WD, whatever that is. Footage is them, I've got to hate initials. We live in a world where they use initials for everything and I never know what they are. And even when I learn what they are, I forget like 5 minutes later. Footage is then played to the court showing a red car pulling into a large gravel car park next to a shed. Don't people know that there's CCTV everywhere now? What was I doing the other day? And I suddenly, it was nothing like this, obviously, but just something I just thought, I wonder if there's CCTV watching me. I think it was going into the toilets in the shopping centre or whatever, or at the ATM. And you just don't know. Well, at the ATM you're on camera, aren't you? It's quite if you most of the time you don't think about it, do you? You just go about your life. You don't think, I wonder if there's a CCTV around, but sometimes, I just thought, it wasn't at the ATM. It was definitely in the toilets at the at the shopping centre. And I thought, oh my God, if anything ever happened to me, they'd be showing this CCTV. This is the last time that Vicky Marie Chats was seen. Do you know what's happened to her? And it would be the CCTV of me going into the toilets in the shopping centre. This is what happens when you sort of follow true crime. You start bloody, thinking about all sorts. But yeah, what I'm saying is, if I know, if I took something to a dump, I never take anything to a dump because we've got our, bins and ways of, there's never any time I've ever gone to a dump. But if I did go, I would know that there would be a CCTV there. Anyway, he tells the court he was contacted by police. Yeah, sorry, I've read that. Footage is then played to the court showing a red car pulling into a large gravel car park next to a shed. A person gets out and opens the boot. All this CCTV will come out after the trial, won't it? A person gets out and opens the boot and is seen going towards the green shed. The person comes back, shuts the boot, and Mr. Canty confirms this is the footage he copied and sent. Then the court sees images from the tip. 2 more still images are now shown to the court from another angle, and these are a bit more zoomed in and from overhead, and they show Miss Patterson's red car at the tip. So we're taken back to the CCTV footage and some still images that have been picked out of it. Mr. Canty says Miss Patterson's car can be seen stopped outside a storage shed, which contains an e-waste bin, a bin for mattresses, batteries, and other miscellaneous items. And the following still image shows a woman carrying an item into the shed. Another photo is shown to the court of the black Sunbeam dehydrator in an e-waste bin at the tip. Now, the thing is, this is so relevant, isn't it? Why did she get rid of that dehydrator? You know, why do you think that she did? What could possibly be the reason for throwing away that dehydrator if she's innocent? That will go a lot against her, won't it? And then Mr. McCanty says the police contacted him on the August the 4th with details. You know what? Here we go with initials again. EFTPOS. No idea what that stands for. With a transaction linked to the Coonwarra transfer station and in landfill at a certain time and date. A printout of the transaction is shown to the court. Mr. Canty says he then matched the transaction against their own records. And the transaction shows that the item deposited was under the category of less than 40 litres of e-waste. Then the dehydrator was picked up by the police because after identifying the item deposited, Mr. Canty tells the court he had an employee look for the item deposited and he described it as looking like a microwave. He says a police officer came to collect it the same day. The defence has no questions. This says a lot, doesn't it? So the defence aren't cross-examining him because there's nothing, what they're going to say, or it wasn't her, it obviously was her. They don't want to, they preferred to spend 30 minutes talking about different types of mushrooms that had no bearing on the case whatsoever. They don't want to talk about her throwing away the dehydrator because they know that that is as suspicious as hell. Up next, a statement from Senior Constable Paul Burns from Wonthaggi Police Station is read to the court. And he describes going to collect the dehydrator from the tip and taking photos of it in the e-waste bin. And these photos are then shown to the court. He says he then wrapped the dehydrator in plastic and deposited it in the evidence room at the Wonthaggi Police Station. Okay, the next witness called into the box is Professor Andrew Burston. And now we're coming to the cancer thing again. So these are very, very important for proving that Erin is a liar. The medical doctor states no proof that Erin Patterson had cancer. So he is an intensive care specialist. He was supplied with medical records relating to Erin Patterson, and he begins with the alleged cancer diagnosis. Is there sufficient evidence in Erin Patterson's medical files to support the assertion she was diagnosed with cancer? She asked, and he says, I could not find evidence to affirm that statement. And then Dr. Rogers, that's the prosecution lawyer, asked Professor Burston about gastroenteritis, its symptoms and its causes, and she asked him about Erin Patterson's alleged illness after the lunch. He says there were three components to her illness: her initial presentation, the notes from the ambulance service, and the notes from Monash Health. Professor Burston and Dr. Rogers begin going through the series of events following Erin's first presentation to the hospital. They note that a nurse documented, there's some details going into it. I hope you're not having your lunch. Liquid bowel actions and normal vital signs, aside from a high pulse. So Professor Burston notes point of care tests conducted on Erin Patterson, which provide rapid results. It found normal lactate levels, normal urea levels, creatinine levels at the upper end of the reference level, and slightly high hemoglobin levels. And Professor Burston says the readings were not consistent with dehydration. Earlier in the trial, we heard that Don Patterson, of course, he was the one that ate not only his own beef Wellington, but the half beef Wellington that his wife, Gail, could not finish. So he ate one and a half. We heard Don Patterson suffered from, and this is, of course, is Simon's dad. He suffered from extremely high lactate levels following his poisoning with death cap mushrooms. Erin Patterson was transferred from Leongatha to the Monash Medical Centre, where she stayed overnight, and the notes from her ambulance transfer state she was stable during her transfer between the facilities. Her vital signs were within a normal range when she arrived at Monash. So don't forget, she was transferred in between these two facilities. A transfer that took nearly 2 hours, not far off 2 hours, and she didn't need to go to the toilet once, despite saying that she had diarrhea. Just seems ridiculous to me. We all know that when you've got an upset stomach, you can't be 10 minutes away from a toilet. So Dr. Rogers says toxicologists cleared Erin Patterson at Monash, and Professor Burston agrees. Professor Burston is asked about a stool. Yes, it's going into a few details here, just again to warn you. So he's asked about a stool sample taken from Erin designed to find foreign pathogens. And he says the indication is that no pathogens were detected, or he agrees with Dr. Rogers when she says that. He is then asked to explain sophisticated blood and liver tests that were run on Erin Patterson. And the tests were run on blood taken at Leongatha Hospital, where she first presented. And he says many of her results fell within standard, and he referenced ranges. He also noted her creatinine, and I know I'm not pronouncing them right, and hemoglobin levels had fallen towards reference ranges since the initial tests. He again states that the ratios of urea to creatinine in Erin's body were not consistent with dehydration. And the thing is, whenever you have diarrhea or any dehydration is a big thing, isn't it? So you just have to drink lots of, that is always the recommendation. Sometimes when you have an upset tummy, it can be various reasons. It can be a virus, it can be just maybe you're like you've got sunstroke, or you've maybe eaten something that's a little bit dodgy, or something that doesn't agree with you. They will always recommend. Sometimes there's nothing you can do about it. Just got to wait it out, drink lots of liquids, and dehydration is the big thing, isn't it? So Dr. Rogers asked Professor Burston his opinion on Erin Patterson's illness, and he did say, I thought there was evidence that she had a diarrheal illness, he says. He cites a mild level of dehydration at Erin's presentation, slightly elevated levels of hemoglobin and fibrinogen, consistent with a sudden illness. However, he notes the illness did not appear to be severe, and there was no other biochemical evidence of a liver injury. And he again confirms to the court that Erin's vital signs were all normal otherwise. The prosecution finishes its questioning, and before the defence gets a chance to question Professor Burston, we head to a break. Let me just check that you're all okay there in chat. Now, I don't know. I mean, I have had, I think most of us probably at some point in our lives have had food poisoning. I've had it maybe it's been years since I've had food poisoning, but I think the last time, I've not been in Spain that long, and I ate some tapas was pork. I mean, I don't eat pork now, so, or rarely, very rarely, if I eat any meat at all. Oh my God, I was so poorly. It's horrible, isn't it? Food poisoning, just normal food poisoning, you know, what, I'm not even talking about, you know, death cap mushroom poisoning, general food poisoning, you know, mild food poisoning is horrible, isn't it? You know, it's just awful. But I don't think Erin really had proper food poisoning, did she? Because, you know, to be able to go an hour and 40 minutes, and the staff had said to her when they were transferring her from one hospital to another, they said to her, if you need to go to the toilet, let us know. She didn't have to let them know. I don't see how that can be food poisoning, proper food poisoning. Anyway, it comes back from break. Here's Mr. Mandy, Colin Mandy. He's up to cross-examine Professor Burston, and he asks about the medical records of Erin provided to Burston for his Professor Burston for his analysis. And he says, "You never assessed Erin Patterson yourself?" And he replies, "No, I did not." Sorry, hang on. He says, "No, I did not." And then Mr. Mandy focuses. Sorry, I have to keep having a drink because I get so thirsty reading all this out. You know, my throat gets so dry. And it's Coca-Cola. Well, not Coca-Cola. What is it? Coke Zero. Just trying to keep my throat lubricated. Where are we? So then Mr. Mandy then focuses on the hemoglobin levels recorded on the test of Erin Patterson's blood. He says her hemoglobin levels fluctuated during the course of the day, and then cites medical records from 2013 and 14 showing that her hemoglobin levels were lower. And Mr. Mandy says a 2015 read, Joe, this defence is rubbish. I don't even know. I know that everyone's entitled to a defence, but I've got to say, through this trial so far, and we're on day 11, I've never once thought when the defence came up to speak, oh yeah, that's a good defence. I haven't heard anything that I would think was a good defence. What are they trying to say? I'm just puzzled. What I feel like they're just trying to put on a defence for the sake of it, but really none of it is really relevant, or none of it makes me change my mind about Erin and what she did or didn't do. You know, maybe there are just no defence. So he's trying to show, I don't know what he's trying to show. What is he trying to show? Anyway, Mr. Mandy says a 2015 reading was elevated when Miss Patterson was suffering from a gastro illness. And Professor Burston says he has not seen these records, and the defence promises to provide them to him. Well, should really have provided them to him before he testified. Anyway, Professor Burston says he agrees the trend must be focused on, but notes that the tests may also have been done on different machines. Mr. Mandy then moves on to Erin's potassium levels, which were low and consequently supplemented by medical staff with IV fluids. And by the morning of her discharge from hospital, her potassium levels had risen back within normal ranges. Professor Burston says the reference ranges of potassium levels depend on the nature of how samples were taken, but agrees the levels were low and returned to an acceptable reference range. Whatever. So what? I'm sorry. Somebody help me out here. What are they trying to ascertain? Anyway, then the defence summed up her symptoms. Are they trying to show that she was poisoned as well? You know, so Mr. Mandy groups together her symptoms, including her reports of diarrhea, abdominal pain, low potassium and high hemoglobin. And Professor Burston says that taken together, they form the basis of his conclusion that Erin Patterson was dehydrated and suffered from a diarrheal illness. Mr. Mandy needs to show Professor Burston some of her previous medical records, so we're out for another break. So, Mr. Mandy confirms Erin's lower hemoglobin levels earlier in her life and finishes his questioning. The prosecution brings the line of questioning back to her low potassium. And Professor Burston says there are many reasons why a person would have low potassium. He tells the court that stress and certain medications can shift potassium levels in the body. And Dr. Rogers then asks about Erin's high hemoglobin levels. And Professor Burston says it could be due to dehydration or poor kidney function. And then she asks whether Erin Patterson's symptoms could point to a more serious illness. Is this what the defence are trying to say, that she was severely ill? She obviously wasn't, because she discharged herself, first of all, after 5 minutes. Then she did this transfer to the other hospital where she didn't need to go to the toilet. She said she ate, despite having supposedly been poisoned by death cap mushrooms, she had dinner, didn't she? And she had something to eat the next day when she was on the way with her son to the flying lesson, and it got cancelled. Anyway, Dr. Rogers said, are these things consistent with a severe illness? And he did say they could be. Oh, so that's it. The judge has probably had enough by then. No, that poor judge. He's probably like the rest of us thinking, what the hell is the point with all this? I think once you'd got over all the discussion about the mushrooms, now we're into discussions that seem pointless about potassium levels, etc. I don't know what the defence are trying to get to, but anyway. So that was the time that he decided he'd really had enough. The next witness was waiting outside the courtroom, and Justice Beale said there's no time left in the day. He's like, get me out of here, get me to that dark room, get me a gin and tonic, and we'll hear from the next witness, who we don't know who it is. Who is the next witness? It's a woman. We're going to hear from her tomorrow. So we've heard... we've got a little, let's have a look at the video,
We've heard from Dr. Camille Trung. She's a mycologist or a mushroom expert, and she said that she was contacted by doctors to try and understand what type of mushrooms, identify the mushrooms contained in the leftovers of that beef Wellington lunch served at Erin Patterson's home in Leongatha in July 2023. So she said that she was sent a photo of the leftovers by the doctors, but that she told them she wasn't really able to give a clear answer on what they were because it was chopped up and it was cooked. So she said she organised to have those leftovers brought over to her home, and she said she analysed them twice, and she said that both times she came to the same conclusion, that there were no signs of death cap mushrooms.
No signs of death cap mushrooms. Now, I don't think that's a good thing for Erin, is it? Because I think if I was Erin's defence lawyer, my argument, if you like, I'd be trying to prove, I would say to her, look, you've just got to admit they were in there, because they were in there. These people had ingested them somewhere. And you've got to try and prove that it was just accidental. I don't understand the way the defence is going in this case. You know, what they're trying to say. You know, they're there to defend Erin, and Erin deserves her defence. But I don't think they're making a very good job of it, are they? Or is it just me? I don't know. I don't see how the defence are being successful in any way,
shape, or form. The leftovers that she analysed.
Okay, so the jury has also heard from a manager of a tip. What did they have to say?
Yeah, and the evidence from the manager of the tip, the relevance of that, of course, is just the fact that this is much more important evidence, isn't it? She did take that dehydrator and dump it at the tip. And why did she do that? Is she going to give evidence, I wonder? You know, because, you know, the prosecution and the defense going to call Erin as a witness and say, you know, why did you dump the dehydrator? Because she's got to give a reason for that, hasn't she? I think the jury will want to know that, as we want to know it. Your first question will be, why did you dump that? And if the reason is because she was scared and she thought she was going to get the blame, well, fair enough. I mean, I think people probably would understand that. But they want to know, you know, is she going to give evidence, I wonder?
Yeah, we've heard from Darren Canty. He's the operations manager of a company that owns a tip, the Coonawarra transfer station. And he said that he was contacted by police and he supplied them with some CCTV in August, a few days after that lunch. And the jury was shown that CCTV. It was shown to the jury and it depicted a red car rolling up to a shed, a person getting out with an item, going into the shed and then coming back out of the shed and back to the car. Now, that item dropped off by that person was later found by staff at the tip to be a dehydrator.
Sorry, I'm just interrupting there because it just struck me. I have to say when it occurs to me because otherwise I'll forget. Erin was described as a super sleuth by the true crime Facebook groups that she was in. Surely Erin will know that when she took that dehydrator to the tip, there would be CCTV of it. Why didn't she bury it in the garden or something? You know, that would have been more sensible, really, wouldn't it? You know, why did she take it to the tip? If she's so much of a super sleuth who follows true crime, we would know, wouldn't we? We follow true crime. You would know not to take that dehydrator to the tip where you'd be on CCTV dumping it. You know, your best bet would be to sort of just drive out somewhere where there were no, you know, some woods, some bushland somewhere and dump it. Surely, wouldn't it? Anyway, just a thought. I'm going to go back a bit because I cut that off then.
That item dropped off by that person was later found by staff at the tip to be a dehydrator. And the prosecution has previously told the jury that in the days after the lunch, Erin Patterson went to the tip and dumped a dehydrator, and that dehydrator had fingerprints, her fingerprints on it, and traces of death cap mushrooms on it too. At the moment,
well, the thing is, so that dehydrator that she dumped had traces of. Have they actually said this in court yet? Anyway, we'll see.
Separately, we're hearing from an intensive care specialist. He's talking about Erin Patterson's health. We're going through her health records, medical records, and hopefully that'll shed a bit more light on her state in the aftermath of the lunch. We know that there's a dispute between the prosecution and defence over whether Erin Patterson became ill after that lunch with her guests.
Yeah. Did she? Did she? Didn't she? Who knows? So then let's have this little summary. 5 things the jury heard today. Another day of evidence has concluded in Erin Patterson's trial. Today we continued to hear, we continued to hear from not that it was his fault, mushroom expert Funky Tom May, but also his colleague at the Royal Botanical Gardens, Camille Truong. We then moved on to hear from the manager of the landfill site where Erin's food dehydrator was found, and an intensive care specialist who reviewed her medical files, along with the results of tests taken after the deadly lunch. So Dr. May continued to give evidence today, telling the court that death cap mushrooms don't have a particular aroma as they age, but the dried death caps smelt very unpleasant. Dr. Truong was sent a package from Monash Health containing beef Wellington leftovers. She said she analysed the leftovers and did not find any death cap mushrooms in the food. Coomera Tip Operations Manager Darren Canty talked the court through CCTV footage and still images that showed a red car pulling into the facility and a woman getting out, opening the boot and carrying an item into the shed. A black Sunbeam dehydrator was found in the e-waste bin in the shed. Intensive care specialist Professor Andrew Burston told the court he reviewed Erin's medical records, found no evidence of a cancer diagnosis, and he said that tests conducted on Erin after the lunch did not show any sudden damage to the liver or presence of pathogens, but said there was evidence of mild dehydration and an acute diarrheal illness. Okay, so that's where we are, ready for another day tomorrow. I want to thank the Australian News. I think their coverage, like these updates, are really good, and it's been very useful to us. You know, to go through quite thoroughly, isn't it? Fungi Tom, yeah. Fungi Tom. Funky Tom. Yeah. So, what do you think? Well, I know what to me, as I say, I do think that Erin did this deliberately. My problem is I'm not sure if she did it with an intent to actually kill or whether she just wanted, for whatever reason, who knows what reasons are in people's heads, because she was pissed off and she just wanted to cause a bit of chaos, but maybe she did not realise just how much chaos she would cause, I think. Yeah. But did she do it deliberately, though, Claire? I agree. But what do you think? Do you think she meant to kill? Or do you think she just meant to make the meal and it all just spiraled out of control? But anyway, we'll see what the jury thinks eventually. Still a long way to go. With where are we in the third week? This trial was expected to last anything up to 6 weeks. Though the judge had said a few days ago that he didn't think it would take as long as originally thought. But we'll see. Maybe only another few days. I don't know. Okay, so I'll see you really soon in the next video. Oh, I'll be on for, I've got a premiere planned for later on today. So look out for the notifications for that. Don't forget to press all notifications. So the thing is, let me give you an example. When you go onto a YouTube channel, let me see, YouTube. Oh, could go on this. Actually, I could show you this video at the same time because it'd be interesting. Don't forget, not only with me, but any of your favourite YouTubers, you know, you're wondering why you're not getting notifications. So what you have to do, like I'm subscribed to ABC News, but I might look. So I'm on all, I'm on all notifications. So not only you have to press the bell, but you have to go on there and pick all. Because otherwise, if you pick none, obviously you won't get any notifications. You can pick personalized, which, oh God, no, I don't know what that even means. But personally, I want all notifications. Let's have a look at this video, actually. It's only a short one.
accused mushroom triple murderer Erin Patterson, telling the court the general public has a poor ability to identify different types of mushrooms. Erin Patterson is accused of the murder of 3 of her estranged husband's relatives, who died after eating a beef Wellington meal containing poisonous death cap mushrooms. She has pleaded not guilty to all charges against her. Reporter Alexandra Alvaro joins us live from the Latrobe Valley Magistrates Court. Alex, hello there. What then have you heard so far this morning?
Well, we've heard this morning from Dr. Tom May. He's a mycologist and he's been questioned by Erin Patterson's lawyers about mushroom identification and the challenges that come with it. Now, this case centres around a meal that was served at Erin Patterson's home, laced with death cap mushrooms. 3 of her estranged husband's relatives died.
Actually, I think that's the one we just watched, so we won't watch it again. But yeah, just so that I can show you, remember, you must put your notifications, I say, not just for me, any YouTube channel you like and you don't want to miss their updates, because you know what, sometimes as YouTubers, or certainly for me, I'm sure it's the same for others, we're not always organised with because sometimes we just have to come on suddenly and do a live or put a video out. Because we haven't had, it might be breaking news, or it might be we didn't realise we were going to have time to do it, and then suddenly we've got an opportunity to do it. Because not many YouTubers, unless they're really sort of big, popular YouTubers, do it as a full-time job. You know, it's something that's on the side for other things that they do. And so they've not always got unlimited time to go on there. So what I'm saying is sometimes the videos can come out impromptu and you could miss them. God, I'm waffling again. Where's my waffle thing? Come on, somebody put the waffle. There you go. Waffle, waffle, waffle. Waffle, waffle, waffle. I'm waffling again. You know I like a waffle. I used to like a mushroom, but now I'd rather have a waffle. Okay, so I'll see you really soon. I've got a good I say nice, it is nice, there is some positive, I've got a positive video coming out, very interesting. I'll say this premiere that I record, it's one that I recorded earlier, that's coming out sometime later today. It will probably be after 5 o'clock Spanish time. Well, it definitely will be. So I'll see you really soon in the next video. And until then, may your God always go with you. Now, let's have the new song as a... Oh, no, I won't do the new song because that's in a lighter subject. Bye.